Welcome back to the Ten Hill Studio podcast where we discuss streetwear, sneakers, and the culture in general. This is Rohan.
This is Suyash.
And today we have a really special guest. We have Mr. Pavel Roy from WalaWali. So, Pavel, just tell our audience a little bit more about you and WalaWali.
Okay. So this is me, Pavel Roy from WalaWali. It's a kind of a streetwear brand. Still figuring out. I don't know what. Should I start from from my background, like where I come from?
You can tell us a little bit about your background. Obviously, me and Pavel, we actually speak a lot, and he's become a really close friend of mine and Suyash's.
Right, for sure.
So we can definitely say that we know a little bit about you already, but maybe the audience doesn't. So maybe you can start off with going back a little bit, maybe to say
where I come from. I'm basically not from Calcutta, so I'm basically a Mumbaikar. So it's been since 2016 I came here, and I was working under an advertising agency called Shreyans Innovations. So previously I was working under an agency, but after a certain thing happened, and then I shifted back to Kolkata, and after that, after working for 3 years, in 2019 I got this idea of doing my own thing called something because.
But why? So let me just take you back a little bit more. So I remember you said that you had studied in arts, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I did my commerce from Mumbai again. Yeah, and then I did my Bachelor of Fine Art from JJ School of Art.
Right.
And I was pursuing communication, in advertising and sort of designing. For me, it was all mixed up, jumbled up. I wanted to do video games like PS4, doing some character designing, doing some comic book art. Basically, more of character designing.
So you've always been somewhat inclined to the arts, right?
To the art.
And plus, some of your drawings and stuff, you were always fond of
creating characters, creating a story, creating a a mood board for whatever it's like. It can be a furniture, it can be a device, it can be anything. So I was morely inclined to making designs.
Okay, so talking about your transition from doing fine arts to advertising.
And not fine art, it was commercial art. Yeah.
Sorry, commercial art. What made you get into advertising specifically?
So commercial art itself is an advertising. It's a step to advertising.
Okay.
So it can be either typography, advertising, or communication skills basically.
Okay.
Which doesn't have to go into the mass media.
Right.
Morely on designing for communication. For example, building a storyboard or building a communication like an advertising sort of. Anything for example, I'll give you an example.
So it's what? When you say communication, you mean the external communication from a company.
Yeah, exactly.
The
so there's a brand.
Right.
You have to build a story for the brand.
Right.
The logo designing, the communication designing,
right,
for people to relate with that product with the consumers.
So tell us a little bit more about, say, you're talking about communication, right? So I'm sure there are a lot of people that would be interested in what it means to be good at brand communication or brand identity.
Right.
So do you have any helpful things that you learned while you were learning commercial advertising, as well as you worked in advertising for a while, right? So tell us, what were some of your clients and
So the client comes to our office or whatever space, and they give us a story about their own brand. If it's a happy brand, or if it's a family brand, or if it's a more of a cohesive, or more of a different brand. Like for example, if it's a streetwear, and we are just discussing about the streetwear, so just give it a streetwear kind of a brand. So streetwear has more of the young generation, right? You can't have family like a father or mother wearing the streetwear brand.
Yeah.
So that's what the communication has, the language. So we'll have the language first, and then we'll incorporate the brand identity by giving a logo which will be related to the streetwear. For example, you can't have thin typo. I'm just going to the the basic stuff. Like you can't have a thin typo or a serif typo. For a streetwear, it has to be more
Right.
bold, more
Bold,
fat,
right,
more related to the street culture, which is
Right.
like
More out there.
More out there.
Yeah.
like a little bit
more shouting. Yeah,
different
exactly.
and kind
All-
of.
It should shout. The logo should shout.
Little
Yeah.
bit all.
No, that's a actually a great piece of advice. The logo
Right.
shouting is something that I haven't really thought of, but so just like in general, like when I designed the Ten Hill Studio logo, like I made it somewhat like
Classic.
classic, right?
Right.
But I've been feeling that more and more that I want to redesign the logo, because I feel like it doesn't shout enough.
Correct.
So that's a pretty good point, right?
Right. For the up and coming people trying to start their own brand, note the pointers from Mr. Pavel.
It's not
We
about-
we call him Pablo, bro,
Yeah. So we have a nickname from him, Pablo.
or
There's a-
Virgil of India, Virgil Abloh of India.
yeah. Whatever you can say that. Anyway, so yeah. So in 2019, I started. I thought of doing something for my own self because it was high time for me complying to other people. I don't like this shit of
So-
working under someone because you can't have your creative skills. The challenges which we
Exactly.
do mostly.
Like you cannot be just yourself. Your creation would be at the end of the day bound by your.
Correct. So we have to always
superiors, right.
listen to the others, and then if you create something, and then they will say, "Okay, yeah, it's not working," because they have their own mindset.
So it was somewhere your the passion for designing, making designs, and the creative freedom which you were seeking
Yes.
that led you to
Creative
form
freedom is the-
WalaWali.com.
Yeah, it's a correct way of putting it. Yeah.
So, but like it's very interesting. You're working in a advertising agency and stuff like that, and very very commercial. And then
Like
your
you
switch
work
to
with,
fashion.
like Manyavar and stuff. Right?
I used to work.
Okay, now it
I
makes
used to
more
handle
sense then.
Manyavar and
Yeah.
mostly Manyavar and real estate agents. Real estate clients like PS Group. And
So yeah, like my basic question was that why fashion and specifically such a niche market,
Market.
especially in India, streetwear. Why streetwear?
Okay. So here's a fun fact. So I wanted to start with the furniture, like the concept furnitures or, small, just like KAWS, what KAWS does. So mostly merchandise items like, toys and stuff.
Right.
But, it needs a lot of capital to do that. And you need a lot of other, sources and materials and a lot of study
Right.
to happen that way. So I thought let's start with the most basic stuff, which is t-shirts as a gateway for me to get into the streetwear, because there I can start my own journey with other things such as like the merchandising. Again, I can create my own concept furnitures. So see, I'm still inspired with Virgil because of that reason. You say that.
So yeah, like you were looking at somewhere. I think you're getting into the collectible space here. Something like you
Something
have
like
your
Bobby Hundreds.
you
Bobby
have your
Hundreds.
apparel collection as well as your
Correct.
merchandise, which is like figurines, collectibles, and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
Something like what KAWS does.
There was another person like I was very much inspired from, which was Adder Error. So he has done a lot of other stuff besides fashion apparel.
Right.
So basically, like what it sounds like is that your passion lies in kind of designing,
Correct.
and it doesn't really matter what exactly the
Right,
avenue
right,
Avenue.
or the canvas is.
Correct.
Like it sounds like you'd be happy designing T-shirts, you'd be happy designing furniture. Like the canvas doesn't
I'll be happy
matter,
designing this mic as well. Like
right? So you're just a designer by nature and by passion, I guess. So when you started WalaWali, what were some of the struggles you faced in general? Like you mentioned that since you wanted to do concept furniture, and that might still be your like eventual goal. Like you mentioned some issues such as capital and stuff. Like what are some of the other issues that you felt when even starting out in the streetwear space?
Okay. So, after I guess post COVID, everyone is struggling with their own fields, honestly speaking. So for me, it was my biggest challenge was the capital. Obviously, it was the capital, but biggest challenge was my lack of understanding of the market, which I didn't do a thorough research. So I wanted to jump, because I have been like a procrastinator doing nothing, just sitting around. And then suddenly I thought, okay, let's materialize it because 2020 was like a big, it was like a big break for me.
Right.
And I got so upset, I couldn't do anything. So then I thought, okay, let's do it. And the biggest mistake what I've done was I started with a lot of inventory, which
Right.
is still left with me. And that you should avoid. The first thing I would advise to you guys, just
So, like,
start small.
that's a good segue because that's something that we are solving together as
Correct.
well
Yeah,
with our blank project. Is so basically like there's so many streetwear brands that start out, and in India there is a minimum order quantity
Correct.
for each design that you make,
Right.
and I think you said that you had to order like a crazy number per design, right?
Yeah.
So-
Because I was not getting any. Like they were not entertaining me unless I have something around like 3,000 pieces to order from.
Right.
So it's a very difficult
So,
platform.
like that kind of production essentially can create a lot of issues for a new brand, right? Because
Very much.
if you're just starting out your brand and you are getting made 3,000 pieces without
Right.
having created a market, what I'd suggest you'd rather do is like have samples of your designs and spend that extra money on marketing, right?
Very true.
Because
It's like but also one of the reasons would be like for a new brand to start out, there's a lot of hit and trial, and then you finally match your vibe.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
That is true as well. Yeah.
So-
exactly. So that was
Same with you, I would say. Like, I feel like from your first collection
Exactly.
to now, it's changed quite a
Yeah.
bit.
I started off something else. Yeah, I wanted to be like. I would say I wanted to be like something.
by the way, that's the latest collection from WalaWali.com.
Yeah, this is also one of his newer designs from
and
WalaWali.
this is just coming in.
This is actually really cool. Like I wear it a lot.
Yeah,
like,
for
it's
sure.
very comfortable. It's oversized,
Thanks, man.
and then this DT
It is high density print.
high density print. Like I actually like the touch.
Yeah.
When you were telling me, I was like that, but like actually having like a silicone thing is kind of nice.
So even this is from the new collection, which is coming around like this week, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, you mentioned MOQ issues, and that's something that we are trying to actively solve for the community, right? Like, kind of help streetwear brands start up and stuff like that, so that they don't face an issue that you face where you're just overburdened with inventory, essentially,
Right.
and also inventory that you might not still vibe with, like because
Exactly.
your new designs are very different from your older
Yeah,
ones.
you will learn. Yeah, obviously
Yeah.
you will learn. But see, the first mistake is always it's a mistake, right? So
Yeah.
you always learn from the.
Oh yeah. Like
mistakes.
you're doing really well now. Like your new designs are actually really dope. Like he has some really cool stuff, not just in t-shirts and stuff, but also sweaters, bucket hats,
Right.
accessories.
Yeah, I do have some. This is another
Yeah.
like an accessories.
Like this is really cool, bro.
Yeah.
Like patch denim kind of stuff.
Right.
That's really cool.
I
so
also
this-
liked one of his jumpers. Basically, it was like a reversible
yeah.
thing,
Yeah, exactly.
and that looked very raw from one side and very crisp and clean on the other. That was really cool.
I think that's really good because I feel like most people here, like, there's two sides. One is like the edgy side, which they kind of
right.
don't really show
Right.
to that many people, and then there's another side which they kind of show to
Yeah.
everyone. So I think having that kind of
No,
dichotomy is like
yeah,
a cool.
exactly. So I think in India we face the similar problem. Is like if you talk about the mass people, like they always prefer branded products, Zara, H&M, and like, but they don't see what efforts we put in our own products. Like what's the price? Like if you see a Zara or an H&M, a normal solid T-shirt, a blank, they charge you around like I'm just giving a an hypothetical number, like say 500, and we put a
It's
lot of
more than
effort.
that.
That's much more than that. It's like
Zara's
800 or
790.
$1,000 or something like that.
$1,000. So let's
Right.
let's keep it as $1,000. So, but what we put in our own like t-shirts, the design, the effort, the quality, they don't seem to compare that with Zara and H&M because
So yeah, so like you're basically pointing out the fact that these brands which are well established have gotten comfortable somewhere with their audience, whereas we every day struggle to bring newer designs and better products so that you'd choose us,
Yeah,
right?
but also like
So
for any kind of if you're starting out anything, right? And there's say like an established brand and a brand that's starting out,
right,
there has to be some product innovation, right?
right,
Out
very
here,
true,
what we are providing is like we're providing unique designs at better qualities at a reasonable price.
very true.
So like you have to do all these things
correct.
to
Initially.
not just initially. I
Really,
think that's going to be something that stays for us for
Stays.
sure.
No,
It-
I'm
it
not talking
should-
about. I'm not talking about the price. I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
It should become
we
your
should,
de facto.
Yeah, we should evolve with the design as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it just like Zara and H&M is a different example because they're more mass market brands. We are like very much more streetwear kind of. So in streetwear, like you have like heavyweight tees and
Correct.
that kind of like prints are different, like style is different, aesthetic is different, right?
Right.
And usually
But
there's a
like,
concept.
so I've been noticing this a lot that Zara's vibe has changed a lot, man. Like they are kind of becoming very close to streetwear.
I
They're
think they just follow whatever is
The
like
trend,
trendy. Yeah.
trendy, right? Yeah, like they
Like
make
tomorrow-
most of the t-shirts I see over there now oversized.
Yeah, so like if tomorrow grunge comes in, like Zara's gonna do grunge.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? It
Yeah,
doesn't
Zara has
matter.
their own. Yeah, exactly. They are very good with the strategy and all.
Yeah.
So, oversize was there. Right? It was not there for India.
Yeah, but like now it's
it was not there for India. That's what.
right.
So it's
right.
like a Mekalu Tikki kind of thing. They'll adapt to the situation, like
Yeah,
whatever.
of course. I mean, that's why they have, I mean, let's not get into Zara conversation.
Yeah, let's not get into the Zara exactly.
That's a whole,
Tell us, so what does WalaWali mean? And what is the basic idea behind WalaWali? Like,
So there's another fun fact with this. It initially came out from a campaign idea which I was doing for Manevar. Okay, so Manevar has become so big. So and there was Mohe as well. There was a female and the male section. So I just thought like there's always a Wala and Wali, right? So there's you find that kind of a t-shirt as a Wala for and that kind of a t-shirt which is meant
or
for a
it
Wali.
can be both. It can
It
just
can be both,
unisex.
yeah. So exactly, it can be unisex.
Which your designs
My
are all
design,
unisex.
yeah. So mine is like a gender equality kind of a thing. So that's the core
So
concept.
why
of-
not Wali Wala then?
So
Wali Wala sounds better than Wala Wala.
yeah. So I didn't get the domain and the registration ID for WalaWali.
So you wanted to do Wali Wala.
I wanted to do WalaWali initially,
interesting.
Nice.
but I didn't get it. So some Chinese guy stole that IP.
Stole? No, but you registered it. What do you mean stole it?
No, because when I was checking on the domain, the GoDaddy or whatever, so there wasn't any WalaWali.
Okay.
And this next, after a month when I checked, the WalaWali was gone. So I don't know how it happened. Anyways,
So,
You
just
missed
sound
out.
like someone took it, bro. That's all.
First movers advantage.
So there is a Wali Wala out there. Maybe you can acquire it something.
I don't know. I'm sticking with WalaWali. Yeah.
So when you started designing for WalaWali, and in general you design, like who are some of your global as well as national inspirations when it comes to design language and people that you just generally like to follow? Like,
Okay. So
I know one of them for sure is Virgil.
Yeah, one of them is Virgin.
Virgil was your dad, right?
And second one again from international is Aero.
Right.
And national level, if you talk about like I'm just trying to create my own design,
Right.
which will be like
No, it doesn't have to be based off of design. It can be like just people you're inspired by.
inspired as of such. I don't see anyone like I might be unaware of, but I don't
Okay.
get inspired from. I haven't got inspired from
But what about? I remember you used to talk a lot about Samuel Ross, and
Samuel Rose, from the
are there
Cold
any
War.
other like artists or maybe some painters or artists?
Cause is a very good inspiration for me. Yes, I do follow him because I'm also into illustration. So that's what I want to do initially. I told you about, right? Just like Cause, to create my own merchandise, to create an identity, which I'm eventually getting into it. So
Right. So if so, since you're into collectibles, right? Maybe this is where you can probably come in with your hype questions. But what's your opinion on like the whole Brick Bear and all these like collectibles and like the hype collectibles, I guess.
Like which go for crazy amounts for, like it would mean just a figurine to somebody, but people pay like millions of bucks for like certain rare pieces.
if you say that, that's like a completely different section, right? That's like an art which people would pay millions of, just
Right.
like a Banksy.
Right.
I don't want to get into that zone.
Okay.
If
Okay.
you get it, like I don't want to, I don't want to make it not affordable for
Yeah,
people.
but
So
they don't make it unaffordable. The resale market is what
right.
makes it unaffordable, right?
It is,
Like
but still,
so like
like
Brick Bear, I think most of them retail for $250
Yeah,
ish.
depending on the sizes,
Right.
some like it's reasonable. It's
so
still
that is
reasonable.
also like it can be like it's an interesting topic because even he must have put that in that much of um, effort or the idea
Yeah.
of creating. He's just charging his own ideas, right? So that we need to take care of. Like whenever we are doing something, we are just putting our ideas. The money goes into the idea, not about the making the stuff or something else. It's about the idea what we have been processing for so long,
Right.
and people accepting that idea.
Right. So that's so if you had to or if you ever thought about it, if you had to make a collectible, what kind of animal would it be? And
Not thought
do
of
you
yet. Yeah.
have any idea as to what it would look like?
And not thought of yet.
I suggest a few.
Yeah, please go ahead.
What about an ant?
It's a good idea. Like yeah.
Interesting.
Huh?
I would like to see how you
Yeah, from Ant,
come
I
up with
got an
something
idea.
like
Like, why can't we do on cockroaches, man?
that. No,
Nah,
cockroaches ain't it.
nah. See, this is going too far. Like an ant, I feel just because like there's so many such unique qualities about ants. There's like cockroaches, like apart from being a
So that's what,
cockroach.
that's what. So
Oh, but
this is
this guy
like,
is making me abuse on the podcast. You have to cut that out. Anyway,
cute. Like, why not? Anyways, that's a different topic. Yeah, and let's not go into the cockroaches and the insects and the.
no. So I think ants are pretty cool, and I can view like the kind of figurine of an ant. Then dolphins, but that's too. It's not street enough, I guess.
No, so
Hmm.
Right?
it can be
No,
anything.
I
Like,
guess
it
not
doesn't have to be an
dolphins.
animal or an insect or
No, it can be anything.
it
I'm
can
just
be anything.
saying if it was an animal.
It can be an abstract form as well
Yeah, sure.
that I'm working on.
Okay, so my next question for you is, what do you think of the Indian streetwear scene?
Mm,
Like, obviously, you know all the different other brands that are there,
right.
and I'm sure you have an opinion on them and the community in general, and we'd like to know what you think.
Okay. Mm, so Indian market is completely different from international market, right?
We're talking about just
Now, I'm just
Indian.
giving an example. Like if you consider Indian market for streetwear, and then you have another segment of the mass. Like there's a demography of streetwear as well. Like people
Yeah.
who goes for high street fashion and
No,
people
I
who.
meant just like in general, like what is the Indian streetwear brands that are in India? What is
See, there are a lot
what do
of.
you think of them? Or like, for example, like what is your opinion about jaywalking, almost gods, rising a monk, a skating monk, uh, for marquee halo effect? these are just some brands just came to my mind, but Blue Orange, like what is your general sense of like what they're producing, how the community is developing, and in general, if you feel one way or the other?
So the similarity between all these brands, what you talk about, are they have the same price point, right?
Not necessarily.
No, I'm just saying, like, like streetwear, for me, streetwear should be more affordable for people
Okay.
who, like streetwear are meant for the streetwear, like for the skaters, like for, I don't know, like for people, like there are a lot of people out there I have seen in Kolkata itself. Like I have been attending a lot of hip hop
Right.
pop ups and a lot of events. So they were all asking me, like in general, I'm talking about like for
Yeah.
Kolkata people. They were all asking me, are your t-shirts affordable? Or is it gonna be like expensive, like just like rising among or just like jaywalking or stuff?
Right.
So then I thought, why can't we help them as well? Like because if they can't afford, why can't I become the bridge for them, like to
Right.
become like a brand?
That's an interesting point because WalaWali definitely caters to a different uh, target audience than say a jaywalking would.
Yes.
Mostly because I think that the price point is a big factor, right? Most
Right.
of your t-shirts are like between 500 to
Yeah, below 1,000.
below $1,000. So I think that that makes it like it makes obviously it makes it more affordable for some people, especially like struggling hip hop artists or skaters or anyone in the alt community. I would
Right.
say like, and so it's really cool that you're doing that because I feel like one of the reasons. I mean, you could very well sell a lot of your designs for a much higher price.
Yeah, so apparently I got a call from one of the a dancer who performs, street dance. So this guy called me up saying, "Ki, bro, I'm doing an event for strugglers who can't afford money for going to the events or doing something. So if you can help me out with the t-shirts and all."
Right.
So I told him, yes. Why can't I help you out? Because see, the reason behind putting my price section or segment under 1,000 is the reason I want to become an aspiration for them as well.
Right.
Because
But my question to you is, then what do you think? Um, so, like, say for example, you mentioned jaywalking, right? And there's a difference between aspirational value that
Right.
comes about because of price point, right? So, if it as the price increases, there's also aspirational value that gets associated with it. So, say people that can't afford jaywalking will then find alternatives, right?
True.
But you're saying that's actually for you, you view it in a different way.
I view it in a different way. Yeah, because for me, it's all about the customers.
Right. So
I
you
want to-
think that you're building like a cult slash core audience that's always gonna like kind of
like there are a lot of people coming out,
Right.
becoming an underground a streetwear culture. Like there are a lot of newbies who are coming out and they don't know where to go and all. So they can't afford, if they can't afford Rising Among or jaywalking or anyone else, right? So then they will come to me. But it's not about
So basically, you're like
it's not,
providing a gateway.
I'm not yeah, it can be a
Like
gateway.
I. Like I can see what you're saying here, that somebody who is just entering into streetwear won't want to invest 5,000, 8,000 behind a t-shirt,
Right.
right? They would want to find out what they vibe with.
right.
So
But
yeah,
also
like,
in general, like actually that does make sense. Like being somewhat of like a budget friendly like streetwear brand. And
So-
in general, like you said, like streetwear is meant to be cheap. It's not meant to
Right.
be so expensive. Obviously, there's a difference between high street and street.
Correct.
And I think some of the Indian brands they just decided to go the high street
high
route.
street, right?
And I think partially that's because of the manufacturing issues and then having to get like big quantities to do anything and then so hopefully that changes over time and that streetwear like tends towards being more affordable than being just like for
And like,
super rich people, I guess.
yeah, Definitely, like, so there have been so many problems in the manufacturing and production side of things that has kind of pushed a lot of brands towards going high street.
Right.
And the we have also been seeing a lot of established apparel brands, like, not a lot established, but like I'll mention the names: Bewakoof and
Yeah.
all of these brands.
Soul Store.
Soul Store, Bewakoof, and so these
Soul Store is
brands which
something
have
else,
been,
right? I don't know if they have
yeah,
started
so
with the streetwear.
yeah, exactly my
They
point.
have
So
started
they
with all
have
those
started with
guys.
streetwear, and they are now trying to, because they have the capital to
Correct.
invest in it
Correct.
and make it more affordable at the same time. So yeah, even they have started up with it, and it's interesting. I think we're gonna have a lot of tussle between
No,
the new.
I don't view them in the same space because I feel like um I don't know, people that like streetwear, you guys tell me if I'm right or wrong in the comments below, but I feel like the whole streetwear community knows what brands are for the streetwear community and what brands are not. Like, I don't
Yeah,
think
like, so
people like the people that are buying streetwear necessarily would buy something
So
from
like
Bewakoof
the
now.
way he, so my point of bringing up Bewakoof and Soul Store and brands like that was that the way he's trying to build a gateway.
No, so
So
but
even they
his
are
is
acting as a,
rooted, but his is rooted
yeah,
in
exactly. So
streetwear.
so the people, the newbies he's talking about, who are just entering, who are not a part of the community yet.
Right.
So unke liye the first gateway would be something like
I can give an
Bewakoof
example. Like I can give
or
an
Soul
example.
Store.
I
And
think
then
that
if they get into the community, then if they get that understanding of which brand actually is for the community and who isn't just for the money.
I feel like more than Bewakoof and Soulstore, I feel like H&M and Zara are gateways. Oftentimes, like H&M definitely is a gateway into the
Yeah,
streetwear.
H&M more of
Yeah, but I can give an example. Like for my bucket hat, if you talk about with the patch denim bucket hat, so people ask me like, how can you give me this in that price? Is it a authentic denim or not?
Yeah, it doesn't
So I
make
tell them,
sense.
yeah, I tell them that you can
Because
check it.
your margins are very low.
Exactly. So I tell them to you can check out my product. If you don't like it, you can return it. But yeah, obviously the return has to be bear by them. But anyway, yeah. So but
Quick asterisk.
yeah, that's a terms and condition apply. But I tell them to check my product. So far, it there isn't any returns apart from the
right.
I mean,
Obviously, bro.
I mean, I've obviously we have similar production people.
correct.
We use similar people, so I know what materials you use and what the craftsmanship is and stuff. And I can definitely vouch that his stuff is really high quality, but he's selling it way cheaper than say anyone else would. I feel like so. If you really want value for money and you want streetwear products that um, are really like for street aesthetic, like we obviously stock WalaWali in our store as
Right.
well as our online store. You can check it out in tenhillstudio.com. And yeah, just follow this guy. Like, he's a little crazy, but you might like him. So in general, my next question to you is, what is your opinion on the streetwear community in Kolkata? Since you now live in Calcutta, and obviously you go for a lot of community events, I know that like we are always in communication and stuff. So, what is your general opinion of what you've been seeing?
So
And
I guess we have covered the topic. Like I was talking about, like I have been a lot of hip hop events and all. So
Yeah,
there are
yeah.
different segment altogether, right?
Right.
You have so if you compare with like if you have someone like an event happening in some good place. I can't name right now. Like I'm just giving an example. Like some good place, some
Like
cafes or
Salt
some.
House.
Yeah, the Salt House. Okay, sorry. The Salt House.
You
Okay.
can mention whatever
Yeah,
you
okay.
want, bro.
Cool.
Like, it's not that deep. We're not gonna get copyrighted from Salt House for talking about an event.
They might charge the royalty. I guess I don't know.
For what? Not mentioning it in the video title or something.
Okay, so if you compare that Salt House event and with some hip hoppers doing their own
Like what I did with Superfly.
exactly.
Right.
So
That's a whole different
that's
thing.
a whole different thing.
Yeah.
So
It's a massive cultural difference.
it's a massive cultural difference. So you have different two types of people over there.
Okay.
The demography changes.
So do you feel like, say, like the crowd that went to the Salt House events, we were both there, even you were there. So those Salt House events, do you feel like those people are more in tune with High Street?
Correct.
And do you feel like the hip hop community, beatboxing community, all the rappers that are coming out are more into like streetwear, like
So
not
if you,
high street
yeah,
but
yeah.
street.
So if you see the Salt House event, so there were people there were a lot of other peoples who liked the design and they bought it, whether if it's expensive or non-expensive, if it's less
Yeah,
expensive.
but you're budget friendly. Right?
My thing is budget friendly.
But you upped your prices for Salt.
Yeah, but if you come people coming to check out like other stuff as well, which
Right.
are high priced. So there is they have the capability of buying. They don't have
Right.
any levels of of buying stuff. So, but if you talk about the hip hop culture, which I was doing, so they were they have a limitation of the budget. So they
Right.
have I can't go beyond 500 or I can't go beyond 600. So they have the
So-
limitations. They don't have the limitations.
Right. So my question to you then is, if a brand is starting out, what would you suggest them to do?
If you're starting out, I think you should start small. You should start, different. Do not, or else you can follow the trend, what is going on, but do your own design, which will be, completely different from others. And obviously start small and start different.
But I meant more so like you mentioned that two types of audiences in Calcutta that are
See, that
specifically
depends.
in
Yeah, that
streetwear.
depends entirely on the people who are going to get their own streetwear brand. Right? If they want
No,
to get
so-
into the high street fashion, they can start
No,
off.
why? You don't have to be high street or mass market. Like you can be a bridge brand also.
You can be a bridge brand.
Yeah.
You can be a bridge brand.
There are a lot of in betweens. Like I would say we are very much like
Yeah,
our in-house
exactly.
designs are very
Exactly.
much an in between. Like,
Exactly. So in between, yeah, exactly. So
So like what we I guess we are doing is we have certain designs that are at targeting your high street clients, but we also have a few designs that are catering to the mass market brands as well. So our price points starts
But
from below
also-
1,000 goes above 2K.
Yeah,
So
but also that's also one of the reasons. And reasons is the production amounts are very different for both.
right. That's
Yeah,
a
so-
different, but we are still catering to both the
Both.
markets that you mentioned here. So yeah, I guess a lot of more brands should start
then-
doing it.
okay.
I think people do that. Like in general, like different levels of it. Say for example, if Almost Gods can release something that's for 70,000-80,000, their T-shirt is still 3,000. So it's still made.
But
one
it's still high
products.
fashion.
Yeah.
If a t-shirt is 3,000, it's still high fashion.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm not saying it's high fashion or low fashion or mid fashion. I meant more in terms of you should have price variance in your products.
Yeah, you should have an open stage for people to
Yeah, different kinds of people.
different types of-
And
exactly options.
I mean, if there are people who are telling you, take my money, you make money off of them.
It's not about the money, it's about the idea of how do you put it. So if you have this concept of if you're catering to these kind of people, then you should have your design or the price point as per them.
yeah,
And if you're going to bridge, if you're going to connect two people, like if you have for example 10 Hills, they cater both, right? So that's
Yeah.
your point of that's your creative or that's your thought for the brand. I want to cater both
yeah, because
because I don't want to shut. I
because
don't want to
the
shut
thing is
them.
that-
And I want.
yeah, we are kind of a marketplace for all kinds of people, right? So
Equality for everyone.
yeah,
right?
so we can't be. So we stock people like you that have say
Correct.
budget friendly stuff, and then we stock like really hype stuff that is very expensive, right? So it really
India
like we
is
can't
like
be
exactly,
we
it's
can't be that like oh we're only going to cater to one type of audience. That's weird to me.
Yeah,
in
so for
general.
Almost God, it's like that. It's like that. So they
Right.
cater to certain kind of people, but 10 Hills or I would always prefer, those kind of people who can't afford or who aspire for those kind of brands but they can't afford. So I will be there for them. But he has to cater for both, right? Because he has a stage where people will come and see.
So, what are your future plans with WalaWali?
Future plans, okay. Within 3 years, I'm trying to target like being a national brand,
Okay.
so that, uh, as I told you, like there are a lot of people coming out from the from the closet as an underground culture and uh, being a hip hopper or being a beatboxer, b-boyingers,
Right.
those. So that culture is coming out right now.
Okay, so basically the culture is on the rise. But in general, like in terms of WalaWali, like what are some of your plans? Maybe a new collection coming out, uh, maybe some
Oh yeah, you're talking
something
about
more like
you're
short
talking about
term.
strategy. Yeah,
Not strategy. No, I
So,
meant
like,
more so like
on our right here, he was mentioning that he wants to be that brand in the next 3 years. That as the community keeps growing, as more people keep getting into streetwear, their first T-shirt should be from WalaWali.
right, but
Right.
yeah, that's. I meant more like, is there like a collection coming out or something?
There is
Because
a
like,
collection
So,
coming out, and he's
yeah, there's a
wearing
collection
it.
coming out. There are 3 T-shirts which is coming out
yeah.
right
So
now.
tell me more about that.
So one is called a rib cage, which is the one I'm wearing right now.
Okay.
It's gonna be completely screen print. Yeah, because I believe in screen print is better than anything else.
Right.
And then
That's a whole different conversation.
okay, you can have that. And then there's another one which is called Change Your Pot. We are going to, anyways, showcase those designs very soon. So there are 3 designs, 3 T-shirts coming out, and there's an interesting thing which is coming out right now, as I was discussing also. So I'm going to build up a new deal very soon. It's going to have like a stock kind of a market, market kind of a thing where I'll be fluctuating the prices. So people can be, glued to the website so that they can check out if the price goes down.
When did he mention this to you? Okay. I haven't heard about this. So this is
Interesting.
very interesting. Like bar stock exchange demand के ऊपर price up or down.
Right.
So there's also another design project that you've been working on the side, which is non-budget friendly and non-mass market and supposed to cater to
Cater
the
to
high
the
street,
high street fashion,
high
yeah,
fashion,
exactly.
and that's called TFM. So
Yeah.
what does it stand for, and like what is that project? How's
So,
that coming along? We haven't spoken about TFM in a while.
so still working on the designing. Actually, gonna take some time for the designing part because after learning from experiences from WalaWali, I think I should, concentrate more on the design, and it has to be more unique, more different than whatever I've done so far. And TFM stands for the fictitious man. It's gonna be only menswear, and exclusively designed for very limited stocks and sort of exclusive wear. So for that, so I just we were discussing about the the merchandising and all.
Right.
So that idea came from that. So I will be further stretching it down to the merchandising part to create kind of a
So the
So it's-
collectibles would be a
Collectibles
part
would be
of TFM.
the TFM, the
Right.
fictitious man. Yeah.
So from what I understand, like I think, correct me if I'm wrong. So TFM is like an art project,
It's an art project.
and WalaWali is like a brand that
Brand,
you want to
brand.
establish.
Exactly.
So the art project is going to be like all your like crazy designs.
All my crazy designs. Exactly.
Right.
So I'm going to explore
So
more.
if
on
you
the
want
TFM.
to, and you do post about that stuff, right, in your TFM handle.
Right now it's kind of lying there, but
Yeah. So I mean, you can go check out the fictitious man on Instagram
yes.
and follow it because he does post like some of his design ideas and like he's
Like
kind
the
of
raw
building it
ones
out.
are
Yeah.
over there,
Yeah.
and then there's a distilled
It
format.
might again change, and I
For the
can
mass.
have to go to the drawing board, and again I'll be
Yeah, like
Right.
I am pretty excited about TFM more than
The WalaWali.
WalaWali, just because I feel like
There's a
from
story
what I've
behind it.
seen, not just a story, but a lot more.
Passion.
Yeah, he cares a lot about design, right? So,
Right.
like the mass market thing, I think he's doing for the culture, but like the design project thing is like something he's doing for
For
himself.
himself. Right,
Right.
right.
So I feel like that makes a difference when someone is like super passionate about what they're doing as well.
For
Right?
sure.
And so, I mean, those were my questions. But is there anything new in the hype scene that you want to discuss with us?
Well, I don't
Anything?
know if Pavel is much of a hype beast.
I don't think he is, but you can definitely bring it up for sure.
Last episode, for those
Since
of you,
then, the Balenciaga shoes came out, right?
yeah.
Those crazy charcoal.
So,
You saw that.
anyway, last episode we were discussing a lot on sneakers and how India does not really have a sneaker market like Indian streetwear, Indian sneakers,
Like
Indian
brands.
made in India
Yeah,
brands.
okay, the production you're talking about, designing
So-
or the.
No, the brands like that.
So how would you-
Indian sneaker brands?
That's what I'm talking
So
about.
how would you like to like you're a lot into designing? How would you
That's
like to
a very
design some
interesting thing to
sneakers?
start with, but the only problem is with the production.
Right.
So
For example, if you do find a production partner,
I would
how
definitely
would
do
you love?
because sneaker is something like it's very attached to everyone, I guess. Yeah,
Culture,
people,
yeah, for
culture, any whatever. Like people, they do love more shoes than more less of clothes. They would prefer
Yeah.
shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
I
And
mean,
it's like a very it's you can't call it apparel at the end of the day, but like the biggest accessory that you can
You can't
have,
call them
like,
accessories also. Right?
judging
Right now,
people by
sneakers
their
has
shoes.
taken a different level. Like,
Right.
I think that people are more into sneaker culture than streetwear culture.
Yeah, like the the amount of people who are into streetwear is more than sneakers, but
Exactly.
the people who are into sneaker culture
Yeah,
are
they're
hardcore.
crazy, yeah,
They're
yeah.
hardcore. They know everything about everything.
Yeah, it's
Like
crazy.
even those who aspire for those kind of sneakers, which are like not authentic, but they would still aspire for those kind of sneakers. Where
Yeah, that there's a market over there.
no,
as
I'm just
well.
saying, like
So-
people are more mad about sneakers compared to clothes.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. Like,
That's
So-
true.
I mean, even in our store, we see that, right?
Yeah.
It is quite strange
It's quite strange. Yeah, exactly.
because the point that I had brought up last time was that people are gravitating towards
Yeah.
Indian streetwear brands, but there aren't any Indian sneaker brands for people to gravitate towards. And that was like just a point I'd brought up. But since then, is there any like new hypes that what's happening in the hype beast world?
I
Any
think there was
collabs or
the Balenciaga. Balenciaga also released. Balmain released a pair of slides.
With
They just did it on their own. It's like very crazy.
yeah,
It so it looks very weird on the feet. I just can't tell you guys the shape of it because it's so weird. So suppose this is your feet. The slides extend till here.
oh,
And it's like a hazard to walk in, but people are paying $1,000 for those slides right now.
I mean,
See, that's
Like-
what art is like. I guess.
Yeah, you can call it that.
yeah.
When you
in
see a
way,
sneaker,
you're
it's like an
wearing
art.
like on your feet. Yeah, almost.
Sneaker has become like an art.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
Agreed.
think all of it is. I think even T-shirts are even. All of it is, but I was seeing there are a few collabs that have come out, right? The first pictures of maybe the Nike Louis Vuitton collab.
Oh yeah. So the Air
What was
Force
that?
Ones.
Yeah, Air Force Ones.
We did a small conversation on the Air Force One in the last podcast. So since then, the Air Force One Louis Vuitton has come out, and they're so limited that
It's going for a
People-
crore, right?
yeah, it's going for crazy amounts. There's no cap
Talking about the
on what.
$25,000 one.
Yeah,
Yeah, the Verge
Yeah.
one.
yeah.
Yeah, the
So
Verge.
it's selling for over 2.5 Indian
Yeah.
crores.
Correct.
So yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Like it's so rare that there's no set market. Like in the resale market, you have a set price for certain
Right.
sneakers, but there's no set price for it. So it's like a bidding and
auction-based.
auction going on exactly. So the last auction which happened,
Usually what we're talking
usme
about.
the price you just mentioned,
Like, if it was on the
325.
art, there is no.
Yeah, but like At the end of it,
Right.
does it make sense to pay $325,000?
So
I mean,
it's
it
like,
makes
does it make any
sense.
sense of buying a painting which doesn't make sense?
I mean, I think it's kind of because of Virgil's passing that there would not be anything from his hands coming out
So
ever.
that's what, like, even the NFT,
It's
man.
the same with artists,
Even the
right?
NFT.
Yeah.
Usually, even when like famous artists pass away, like
Mm-hmm.
their art definitely goes up a lot in value
Right.
because
Right.
now you have limited number of supply of their artwork in the
So,
market,
so
right?
like, as soon as Virgil passed and the resale market on the off-whites, all of them, the especially the Jordan 1 off-white collabs shot up like crazy. So when it was announced that Louis Vuitton was collabing with Air Force Ones and that was Virgil's final project,
Yeah.
so it was expected that the prices on those would be crazy. But nobody expected that it would be so crazy. Like, it's one of the most iconic sneakers maybe in this last few decades and for coming few.
I also think that he's one of the most iconic figures in
He
the
is. He
scene.
was,
Right.
sorry.
So
Uh,
he because he worked a lot on bringing what do you say, designer brands along with streetwear.
yeah.
So like
He
he
created the
became the
concept of high
bridge.
street.
See, after
Exactly.
Margiela, I guess
Exactly.
Virgil opened some, some doors.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Not some doors, yeah, exactly.
I
Like,
mean,
lot
So
of
like
doors.
like a collab between a brand like Nike and a brand like Louis Vuitton was something that
No,
without him we cannot
no,
imagine,
I think
right?
keeping apart the collaboration project, like, even if you take Off White's own design, like, he has opened a new stage for the streetwear culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like, previously it was not meant for them. Like, now it has become something else. Streetwear has become something very special.
Right.
yeah, but just talking about a little bit about Virgil and like his kind of accomplishments in creating a whole different field altogether,
Mm-hmm.
bridging that fashion streetwear thing and creating high street as like a realm now, which so many designers, cool designers are coming out of. It's just, I feel like one, he was a super iconic figure, which is why like his last piece of art would be cherished by people. Like I don't think people are gonna be wearing those shoes.
Mm.
Those shoes are probably gonna be kept in some kind of like glass box museum type thing. And it is kind of a piece that's like has cultural and historical importance as
Very
and
true.
when the scene becomes bigger. And I think that eventually one day you might find a lot more other things, collectibles in museums apart from just artwork, like paintings. Like
True.
you see a lot of canvases and sculptures now, but for our generation, a lot of the stuff is going to be sneakers and maybe
Mm.
Renaissance.
That's
bricks,
interesting.
stuff like that. So you'll have modern art museums that are going to be, actually curating all these
I
items.
can see it. Probably a Ronaldo jersey somewhere, number 7.
No, I don't see that. I see like bear bricks and sneakers and maybe some NFT projects in like
Okay,
Yeah.
in
like
that way.
modern art museum like
Modern
a
digital art
MoMA,
museum or
yeah, like
something.
MoMA
Mm,
types.
mm, mm.
But yeah, that's probably
Takahashi.
Murakami. Anything else you want to discuss?
That's it from my end, I believe.
You good?
Yeah, man, I'm good.
So, just before ending the podcast, I just wanted to ask you guys. So, a lot of you guys commented last time saying that the podcast should be a little shorter. So, I was wondering, like, what kind of time frame would be suitable to you all? Like, are you looking for like 15, 20 minutes, maybe slightly longer, or whether you found the long form content pretty good? So, let us know and definitely leave a comment below, like the video, subscribe to our channel. We'll be dropping episodes every once or twice a month, probably
Yeah.
twice a month.
Twice a month to define, I
Yeah.
believe.
And so, yeah, do subscribe to our channel. If you're listening to this on Spotify, definitely leave us a like. I don't know how Spotify works. I keep saying it, but I really don't know how it works.
Yeah, just
And
and
yeah,
we are open to feedback, so hit us up on Insta with anything, any requests you have,
yeah,
any specific person you have in mind that we should have over.
as guests, yeah,
So
for
yeah,
sure. And if you find a specific person that you want us to speak to, also spam them so that they know that like you all are interested in actually like hearing them speak and stuff.
for sure.
So thank you guys. This was Rohan. Peace out.